Hey everyone, welcome to the Convo. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Kay. Today we're diving into the Japanese film Kokuho.
Wow, I never thought we'd start a whole show just for one movie.
I couldn't help it. I was so obsessed with this film that I just had to drag you in to talk about it.
Since it hit theaters in Japan this past June, Kokuho has been smashing box office records for live-action films. It's officially #1.
And as of right now, December 2025, the director, the cast, and the crew have been sweeping all the major awards back in Japan.
That's impressive. Everyone must be wondering what makes this movie such a masterpiece.
It's actually Japan's official entry for the Oscars, competing for Best International Feature Film.
Even Tom Cruise is a huge fan. He recently hosted a private screening in LA for a bunch of industry folks because he loved it so much.
Personally, it really hit home for me.
Then we definitely need to get into it.
But I want to keep this episode accessible. Whether it's your first time seeing Kokuho or you're going back for a second watch, you'll still enjoy the experience.
Sounds good. I'll try my best not to give anything away, but honestly, how do we talk about it without spoilers?
True. Let's just try not to get too deep into the major plot twists. What do you think?
Bottom line, if you really don't want to know anything about the plot yet, maybe hit pause and come back after you've seen it.
Exactly. It'll be just as fun to listen to after the credits roll. Plus, we're going to talk about the production behind the scenes, which is my favorite part. All right, let's set the stage. Kokuho is based on the novel of the same name by Shuichi Yoshida.
The protagonist, Kikuo Takibana, is a young boy born into a Yakuza family. After a family tragedy, Kikuo ends up under the wing of a grandmaster, Hanjiro Hanae. Now, Hanjiro has a son named Shunsuke. The story follows these two teenagers as they train in Kabuki together, eventually leading to this intense, frenemy type of rivalry.
It sounds like a straightforward story, but the director really knows how to keep you glued to the screen. It opens in 1964, about 60 years ago. We're at a high-end Ryote, which is basically a super exclusive traditional restaurant. A powerful Yakuza clan is celebrating the new year there. It's loud, crowded, and very lively. Soon, the music starts. This is our first introduction to Kabuki in the film, performing a piece called Seki no To, the barrier gate.
There are two characters on stage, a man and a woman. This is also where we see young Kikuo for the first time.
For those who aren't familiar with Kabuki, here's the gist. Seki no To is about a cherry blossom spirit disguised as a woman named Sumizome. She goes to a barrier gate looking for her lost lover and runs into a guard. But wait, the guard is actually the villain who killed her lover. The performance shows Sumizome using her wits to get close to the guard.
What's special is that young Kikuo plays the spirit, Sumizome.
Yes, it's a male actor playing a female role. Traditionally, Kabuki is all male. When a man plays a female character, they're called an onagata.
That sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, unless the guy has very delicate features, I'd imagine it could look a bit off, right?
It's definitely a high bar. Being an onagata isn't just about mimicking women, it's about creating an idealized, perfect image of femininity. The movie shows young Kikuo using his gaze and posture to capture all the charm and mystery of Sumizome.
If you don't nail it, it could easily turn into a farce. But honestly, I took a while to get used to the style of Kabuki.
Their delivery is so stylized, it's nothing like how we talk in real life.
Maybe just snippets on TV when I was a kid.
Kabuki and Beijing opera are similar in that they both have very rigid forms. Actors are often sent to train their movements and vocals from a very young age. I guess most traditional performing arts have that kind of structure.
The visuals are so striking too. The white face makeup, the camera even zooms in on the back of Kikuo's neck, showing a specific way it's painted.
That makeup style is meant to amplify the actor's expressions and the character's inner self for the audience. You see Sumizome with this thick, pure white base, but with red shades blended around her eyes and cheeks. In Kabuki, red usually symbolizes feminine beauty and vitality. Meanwhile, the villain, Seki Bei, uses blue lines to represent his cold-blooded, devious nature.
Got it. It's like color-coding characters. You see the color, and you immediately know if they're the hero or the villain.
But the stage performance is just the tip of the iceberg. The real magic is in how the director staged the scene. As the story unfolds, Sumizome and Sekibei move towards the corridor next to the restaurant. You can see the courtyard through the windows. And that scenery outside and the actor's performance blend perfectly together into this stunning visual.
That was definitely the highlight.
It actually has layers of meaning. In a kabuki theater, there's usually a runway that extends into the audience, called a hanamichi, kind of like the catwalks at concerts that go right into the crowd. But since Kikuo and the others were performing in a restaurant, they used the corridor as a makeshift hanamichi. Also, Seki no To is set at a snowy gate, so you see this beautiful interplay between the set and the actual snowy courtyard outside. And that courtyard actually foreshadows some major plot points later on. It's a very clever bit of production design.
Wow, I didn't realize there was that much depth to it. I think Kikuo was only about 13 then. Was the actor the same age?
The young Kikuo is played by Soya Kurokawa. He's the boy from Hirokazu Korieda's film Monster. He's been acting since he was 9. Director Sang-il Lee felt Soya had this mix of innocence and melancholy that perfectly sets up the character's adult version, especially his close-ups. They're captivating. I couldn't look away.
So I guess being a heartthrob is still a box office draw. That scene at the Ryoten also establishes some key relationships, but in the interest of keeping this spoiler-free, let's leave it at that. So then, Kikuo goes to live with the kabuki master, Hanjiro Hanai, right?
Right. Hanjiro's wife, Sachiko, was totally against it at first, but Hanjiro saw Kikuo's performance at that New Year's party and saw his raw talent. He also figured having a peer to train with might push his son, Shunsuke, to work harder, so he let Kikuo move in. I remember when Shunsuke first met Kikuo, he had that classic privileged son vibe, very arrogant and self-assured.
Exactly. Their personalities are polar opposites. If Shunsuke is your typical wild, extroverted E, Kikuo is definitely a quiet, introverted I. But since they lived and breathed kabuki together, they became fast friends. As adults, Kikuo and Shunsuke became a famous duo known as the Azuma Hanai partnership. Their first big hit together was Ninin Dojoji.
The original Dojoji story is about a monk named Anshin who rejects a young woman, Kiyohime, because of his vows. Anshin tries to run away, but Kiyohime turns into a giant fire serpent, chases him down, and burns him alive while he's hiding inside the temple bell. Isn't that a bit terrifying? You mean being pursued by a girl until you literally die?
Totally. If I were on Gene, I'd be running.
Haha, luckily no one's catching you drunk. Anyway, Dojoji is a kabuki classic.
So what makes it Ninin Dojoji?
In Ninin Dojoji, 2 Onagata play the same character. They wear identical costumes, and their movements have to be perfectly synchronized. It's like a person and their reflection, or 2 different emotions splitting from a single soul.
Impressive. That sounds intense. There's zero margin for error. If one person slips up, everyone notices immediately.
Right. It shows their incredible chemistry, but it's also a total acting showdown. It's about who can be more charming and who can steal the spotlight. It's high stakes.
But man, the director shot that scene beautifully. The performance, the costumes, the theater, it all felt so authentic.
For sure. We finally see a formal kabuki theater. With the lighting and the live musicians, the atmosphere was incredible. Adult Kikuo is played by Ryo Yoshizawa. Director Lee once said that without Yoshizawa, this movie wouldn't even exist. He felt Yoshizawa has this bottomless, ethereal look in his eyes. That quality really matches Kikuo's all-in obsession with his art. Yoshizawa admitted this was the toughest challenge of his career. He went through 18 months of hardcore kabuki training. He started from the basics, like Tsudayashi, the sliding step. He said the hardest part wasn't memorizing the choreography, but physically re-engineering his muscles to move like a kabuki pro.
Respectfully, the director has such a great eye, casting Yoshizawa alongside Ryusei Yokohama.
Yokohama is another huge star in Japan. He plays the golden boy heir, Shunsuke. The director wanted Yokohama for his completely different vibe, his insane physical athleticism, and his never-say-die spirit. It perfectly fits Shunsuke, who's carrying the weight of his family's legacy.
Don't you think the script is fascinating? In the movie, we see Kikuo and Shunsuke collaborating and competing, and in real life, Yoshizawa and Yokohama were doing the exact same thing.
Truly. When Yoshizawa won Best Actor at the film festival, he gave a special shout-out to Yokohama. He said if he hadn't seen Yokohama committing so hard, down to the last strand of hair, he might not have made it through.
I wonder how Yokohama felt hearing that.
Philosophical, you really shouldn't compare yourself to others, but once you're in a competition, there are always winners and losers. So even though they both became overnight sensations, a decision by Hanjiro changed their relationship forever.
Let's talk about Hanjiro Hanai for a bit.
Sure, Hanjiro is the head of the Tanabaya house. Kabuki has different schools, and you can think of Tanabaya as a major, prestigious brand. People bought tickets just for Hanjiro's name. When we see him touring with the boys, it's actually reflecting the social climate of that era.
I noticed that early in their tour, the theaters were pretty empty. Was that just because they weren't famous yet?
That, and the fact that by then, about 90% of households had black and white TVs. Because of that trend, Kabuki was losing its audience fast, and the people who did show up were getting older. Grim. To save the house, Hanjiro actually went into debt to keep the troupe on the road.
I had no idea.
But it was that tour that got Kikuo and Shunsuke discovered, which led to their big break in Ninin Dojoji.
Hanjiro is played by Ken Watanabe. I remember him from The Last Samurai and Christopher Nolan's Inception.
Every time I see Ken Watanabe, he just perfectly embodies that classic, stern Japanese male archetype. Whether he's greeting a mob boss at a party or introducing the boys to a living national treasure, he nails it. Even his tough love teaching style feels so authentic. It's that exact personality that leads him to make a very controversial call.
You mean the understudy scandal?
Yeah. Hanjiro was supposed to star in Sonozaki Shinju, the love suicides at Sonozaki, but he had an accident and needed a replacement. Since Kabuki is all about lineage, everyone assumed Shunsuke would step in, but Hanjiro chose Kikuo instead, which shocked everyone.
I really admire his guts. It's such a powerful turning point in the movie.
And it brings up a major theme. What matters more, raw talent or bloodline? Traditional kabuki is passed down from father to son. Even their names are passed down like a brand, like the name Hanjiro Hanai. He's technically Hanjiro Hanai II.
So there was a Hanjiro the First before him.
Exactly. The name is handed down through generations. This system is called shumei, name succession. Ever since Shunsuke was a kid, he's been groomed to inherit this art, sacrificing his entire childhood for it.
Sympathetic. And then Hanjiro picks Kikuo. I can't even imagine what Shunsuke was thinking about his dad. It's brutal.
I can't imagine how Hanjiro could even look at his son after that.
I guess he's the type of person who puts artistic achievement above family.
On the other hand, Kikuo had to reach a professional level in almost no time. Hanjiro's training became even more merciless. Right before the show, while Kikuo was doing his makeup, his hands wouldn't stop shaking from fear.
I mean, for a rookie to be told to perform the master's role in just 3 days, of course he's terrified.
Shunsuke totally understood that pressure. He buried his own feelings of failure and went backstage to check on Kikuo anyway. That scene really captured the whole genius versus lineage conflict. It's an absolute classic.
The acting was top tier. You could really feel the inner struggle and complexity from both of them.
Totally. That scene really stuck with me. And that one decision basically pivoted both of their lives. Speaking of the two of them, the writing is just brilliant. This theme of duality keeps popping up.
I see it. It's not just Kikuo versus Shunsuke. Ninin Dojoji is also about two people mirroring each other.
Even the play from the scandal, Sonezaki Shinju, appears twice in the film, but it gives the audience a completely different vibe each time.
Then there's the father-son theme. Because of his Yakuza roots, Kikuo has a full back tattoo.
Tattoos in early Japanese culture were strictly for the underworld. It symbolizes that Kikuo can never truly escape being a son of the Yakuza. And while Shunsuke and Hanjiro both technically died for their art, Kikuo's presence gave Shunsuke a different kind of ending.
I thought of another contrast too. There are actually a lot of female characters in the movie, like Shunsuke's mom, Kikuo's lovers, his daughter, and his wife. They're either managing all the logistics of the shows or working themselves to the bone to support the men financially. While the men are striving to become the ideal woman on stage, the actual women are struggling with the harsh realities of life.
Yeah, Japanese women can be incredibly resilient. Then there's Mangiku, the living national treasure, whom Kikuo calls a monster. He's a pivotal character. It's like he has a god's eye view of Kikuo and Shunsuke. Everything he says cuts right through you. It's actually kind of scary.
And Mangiku's situation at the end of his life mirrors Kikuo's own downfall, hinting at what's in store for Kikuo's future.
Impressed. Speaking of which, I have to mention Tanaka, who plays Mangiku.
He's actually a famous Buto dancer. Director Yoji Yamada once joked that Tanaka's a terrible actor and hasn't improved since they first worked together.
Wait, really?
But then Yamada immediately added that Tanaka's screen presence is so massive that acting doesn't even matter.
Well, just existing got him a Best Supporting Actor award.
I guess we should credit the Taskmaster director Sang-il Lee. Word is, he's a total perfectionist. He'll keep reshooting until the performance is exactly what he wants.
Even though we only see snippets of Kabuki in the film, the director supposedly made the actors learn the entire plays. If you put Ryo Yoshizawa on a real stage, he could probably perform the whole thing from start to finish.
This isn't Sang-il Lee's first rodeo with author Shuichi Yoshida. He also directed the film adaptations of Yoshida's Villain and Rage.
I heard that to write the novel, Yoshida actually worked as a kurago, or a stagehand in black, for a kabuki troupe to experience the backstage life firsthand. That's why in Kokuho, we get all these authentic backstage scenes and perspectives, like the look on an actor's face right before they step out, or the view of the audience from the stage. That's where the adaptation really shines. Novels and films are such different mediums. Through the cinematography and the score, you get a visceral sense of kabuki's beauty. It breaks the boundary of just being an audience member in a theater. The close-ups let you see every detail of their movements and costumes.
Yeah. People love to compare the book and the movie. But even if the story is similar, they're really two distinct works of art.
Definitely. I saw the movie first and then read the book. The storytelling style is completely different. That said, the film stays very true to the characters and the core concepts of the novel.
I agree. It's that artistic depth that makes it a masterpiece. But, as much as we love these character-driven films, they face a totally different reality at the box office compared to the giant blockbusters out right now.
Oh, for sure. You're thinking about the new Avatar, right?
So, Avatar Fire and Ash just hit theaters in Taiwan. I was checking the numbers. It's already smashed through about the $3 million in just 5 days.
Well, James Cameron is basically box office gold. It's hard to compete with that.
Are you going to do an episode on Avatar later?
Honestly, I'm not sure yet. I'll decide after I actually see it. Let's get back to the matter at hand.
Right. We left off with Kikuo filling in for his master. So, what happened next? Was it all smooth sailing from there?
Actually, it was the exact opposite. Like we mentioned, Kabuki is all about bloodlines. People started questioning Kikuo's legitimacy, and without Hanjiro there to protect him, things went south. He eventually ended up playing extras, roles with 0 lines.
From lead to a face in the crowd. That's a brutal fall from grace.
It really was. There's this one scene where he's crammed into a tiny dressing room with all the other bit part actors. It perfectly captures his situation.
Playing a background character must have been a huge blow to his ego. But I guess if he didn't do it, he'd lose his spot in the kabuki world entirely.
It gets worse. Kikuo had to shoulder the massive debt of the Tanbaya house. To pay it off, he took any gig he could get. You see him performing on a tiny stage while customers are just eating and drinking right in front of him.
Man, he really had to swallow his pride for that one.
Think about the parallel. We first saw Kikuo on a restaurant stage during a New Year's party, and at his absolute lowest point, he's back in a restaurant.
I mean, there's no shame in it, but for someone used to grand theaters, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's hard to imagine the grit it takes to become a top-tier actor.
The director used a specific scene for that. When Kikuo is feeling completely humiliated, he gets drunk on a rooftop and just starts dancing by himself in this self-destructive way.
Was he losing his mind? The pressure sounds insane. As a viewer, you feel this mix of anxiety and heartbreak for him.
To capture that on-the-edge feeling, they shot it during magic hour. They rehearsed it, but when the cameras rolled, Ryo Yoshizawa didn't follow the script. He just went with his gut and improvised the whole thing.
So the camera had to just follow his lead?
Precisely. The cinematographer had to be super reactive. It was a high-stakes shoot, and they apparently only did 3 takes.
Probably because they ran out of light.
That scene is definitely why Yoshizawa has been sweeping the award season. It's iconic.
Wait, I just had a thought. Imagine a drunk actor dancing on a rooftop with a DP and a cable assistant chasing him around. Sorry, I just had this weirdly funny mental image of the crew.
Right? Speaking of the crew, the cinematographer is a big deal. The DP is Sofiane Elfani.
Wait, the guy who shot blue is the warmest color?
That's the one. He's famous for his handheld work and his hyper-intimate, visceral style.
It's like the camera can see right through your soul.
I think the DP is so crucial. The visual style is basically the body of the film. Most Japanese films have this clean, low-saturation aesthetic. Think of Shunji Iwa's Love Letter.
Oh, I know exactly that look.
But Elfani's work has this warmth to it. He emphasizes the organic feel and the physical state of the actors. Whether it's Yoshizawa on the roof or Ryusei Yokohama and Sonezuki Shinju, you can practically feel their exhaustion.
I didn't even notice that. Now I feel like I need to go back for a rewatch.
All right, since we promised not to spoil too much, let's wrap things up by talking about the different endings between the novel and the movie.
Looks like we're heading into spoiler territory anyway. I'll try to be careful.
In the novel's ending, Kikuo performs a famous kabuki play called Akoya, the Akoya Koto torture of Akoya. In this play, the lead actress has to play 3 different musical instruments on stage. It's incredibly difficult.
So, Akoya is basically the gold standard to measure if an onagata, female role actor, has reached national treasure status?
Exactly. In real life, there are only a handful of actors in all of Japan who can pull it off. The most iconic is Bando Tamasaburo 5. And interestingly, Bando Tamasaburo wasn't born into a kabuki family either, right? His parents ran a ryote restaurant for a living. I think that's why the author Shuichi Yoshida chose Akoya for the ending.
Kikuo definitely has roots in real-life figures.
But wait, the movie didn't use Akoya for the finale, did it? It chose a different play.
Which one?
Sagi Musume, the Heron Maiden. This is also one of Bando Tamasaburo 5's signature works.
What's the story behind Sagi Musume?
It's about a heron spirit who transforms into a beautiful woman. She falls in love with a human man and experiences all these intense emotions: love, jealousy, and pain. The climax is this incredibly fierce dance.
As soon as you said that, I went straight to YouTube. I found a 1995 performance by Bando Tamasaburo, and I honestly couldn't look away. Wow, I didn't expect you start appreciating the beauty of kabuki too.
It's actually a brilliant adaptation. It's very close to Kikuo's final state of mind. When he casts everything aside to reach that peak of ultimate beauty, what's waiting for him at the end? The novel doesn't say explicitly, and neither does the movie, but when Ryo Yoshizawa delivers that final line and the theme song starts to swell, Just the after effects just ripple through the theater. The audience stayed completely silent until the music finished.
Just hearing you talk about it makes me feel like I need to see it in the cinema.
Seriously, seeing Kokuho on the big screen is the only way to truly appreciate its value. Especially that ending theme. It's hauntingly beautiful.
Well, why don't I put the link to the theme song in the show notes?
Good idea! Besides the music, you can see a lot of movie clips in it. It works great as a trailer.
Totally. I highly recommend it. Finally, I want to ask our listeners, what part of Kokuho did you love the most?
Was it the acting, the plot design, or the high-caliber production team? Let us know in the comments. I'm really curious to see what everyone thinks.
All right, we finally finished our deep dive into Kokuho. So, what's next on the list?
I'm thinking The Shawshank Redemption.
The Shawshank Redemption? You mean the 30-year-old goat?
Yep, it's an absolute masterpiece in my heart too.
Fine then. I can't wait to see how you tackle that one. After all, you're the one doing the homework.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time on the Convo. Bye.
Bye-bye.